The battlefield was a graveyard of broken dreams and dying stars. Smoke twisted in the cold air, and the ground was soaked with red and blue blood. Above the ruins of the shattered skyships, the twin moons stared down like silent witnesses. She lay there, still, quiet, and pale. Her once golden armor was cracked, her dark silver cloak torn, and her crown broken beside her head. Her name was Zila, the last vampire queen of the Karis Dominion, and tonight, she was supposed to die. The final blast had torn through her core ship. Her generals were vaporized, her guards crushed, her sisters gone. All that remained of her once mighty house was ash and memory. She had closed her eyes, ready to meet the dark stars. But instead of death, warmth found her, human. Hands not rough, not cruel, but careful. A strong arm slid beneath her shoulders. She was lifted, carried. Her heart, which barely beat, felt something strange. Comfort. The man's face hovered above her, dirt smudging his cheeks, armor scratched and dented. His dark eyes didn't fear her. They searched her face as if she was something precious. "You're not dying here," he whispered. She tried to bare her fangs, to hiss, to resist. But she was too weak, and some part of her didn't want to fight. They passed rows of dead soldiers, alien, human, hybrid. None moved, only wind and silence remained. His boots splashed through puddles of blood and ash. The sky was red with fire, but still, he kept moving. Hours later, she woke again, this time on a soft bed of survival blankets inside a broken dropship. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. Her vision blurred, but she could see him now sitting by a fire, his back to her, sharpening a blade. He was humming a simple melody. Human. She moved her fingers, felt bandages on her side. He had tended her wounds. Carefully, respectfully. "Why?" she croaked, her voice barely a breath. He turned, surprised she was awake. He didn't smile, but his voice was gentle. "Because you didn't deserve to die alone. No one saves monsters," she whispered. "I don't see a monster." He replied, "I see someone left behind." Zila blinked slowly. Her body still burned with pain, but something colder twisted inside her. Why was this human not afraid? Why had he not finished her off when she was helpless? The humans had every reason to destroy her. Her fleet had crushed 3 colonies. Her assassins had claimed their generals. She had bathed in their blood. And yet, this one carried her out of fire. His name was Elias, a scout. Not a commander, not a hero. Just a man lost behind enemy lines, just like her. They spoke little that first night. She was too weak. He was too alert. But his actions spoke louder than any words. When her fever returned, he placed a cool rag on her forehead. When she couldn't move, he fed her with a metal spoon. And when she cried silently in her sleep, he didn't wake her, but he stayed close. Each day she grew stronger. Her healing was fast, alien fast. In 3 days, she could sit up. By day 5, she could walk again. Still weak, but recovering. That's when she saw the full picture. Elias had saved her, yes, but he had paid a price. His shoulder was burned, his leg wounded. He had given her his food, his medkits, even his cloak. For a moment, her pride screamed at her. She was a queen, a predator, an apex. She should not owe a human anything. But then she watched him struggle to cook, dragging his injured leg, still humming softly. And something ancient inside her heart stirred. She sat beside him that night, watching the flames. "I don't understand." You're not the first to say that," Elias chuckled. "I killed hundreds of your kind." "I know. Then why save me?" He looked into the fire for a long time. "I saw your face, right before the blast. You weren't laughing, you weren't cruel. You looked tired, lost, like someone ready to stop fighting." Zila didn't answer, because he was right. That moment, right before her ship exploded, She had looked at the stars and wished it would all end. "I thought I was ready to die," she whispered. "Maybe you were," Elias replied. "But maybe someone was ready to pull you back." She didn't cry. Vampire queens didn't cry. But her eyes stayed on him, watching, studying, and for the first time in her long, brutal life she felt something close to safe. In a war where trust had long vanished, in a galaxy that bled and burned, an alien queen found comfort in the arms of a human soldier. And though neither of them said it out loud, they both knew their story was just beginning. The nights grew colder. The wreckage around them began to rot under acid rain and time. But the fire Elias kept burning inside the ruined dropship never went out. Neither did the strange warmth growing between them. Zyla's wounds were healing faster than she expected, but her strength didn't come back the way it should. Something in her blood was changing. Or maybe something deeper. She had drunk the blood of many species. Some gave her power. Some poisoned her. But this feeling was not hunger, it was confusion. The human Elias never asked for anything in return. No loyalty, no submission. No blood. And that terrified her more than any weapon. "You're not afraid of me," she said one night while sharpening a blade beside him. "I've seen worse," he answered with a shrug. "Liar," she smirked. "All right." He smiled. "Maybe I am, a little. Why stay then?" His answer was simple. "Because I don't want to leave you here. Not alone." Zyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood and walked toward the edge of the broken ship. Her eyes scanned the distant skyline. Fires still burned in the horizon. Somewhere out there, armies moved. War was still alive. And they were not supposed to be. "They'll come." "Looking," she said. "Let them come," Elias replied, now cleaning his sidearm. "You'd die protecting me?" Elias didn't look up. "Maybe, but I'd rather die saving something than killing again." His words sank into her like a cold river. He wasn't a killer by nature. He didn't enjoy war. He didn't smile at bloodshed like her people once did. And yet, he fought not for power, not for glory, but for someone else's life. That made him more dangerous than any weapon she had ever seen. The next day, she ventured outside alone. She walked through the wreckage in silence. Twisted metal, crushed helmets, flags torn by wind. The battlefield was still, but she could feel the eyes of the dead watching. She found the body of her second-in-command, Velas, a proud warrior, loyal to the end. His face was half burned, but she knew those eyes. Kneeling, she pressed 2 fingers to his forehead and whispered an old vampire prayer, one only royalty knew. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but regret. "I was not strong enough to protect you," she said. When she returned to the dropship, Elias was waiting. "You went alone?" he asked. "I needed to," she replied. "I buried someone." He didn't ask who. He only nodded. That night, they sat closer to the fire than ever before. And for the first time, she told him something she had never shared with any creature. "I was born during the red eclipse," she said softly. "On that day, my mother said the stars whispered. They said I would bring either salvation or extinction." Elias raised an eyebrow. "And which one do you think you are?" "I used to believe I was extinction. And now?" She didn't answer. But her eyes met his. That was enough. The next morning, they heard engines in the sky. Not distant. Close, scouting ships. Not human, not vampire. A third faction, mercenaries, raiders, killers who followed the smell of broken kingdoms. Zyla and Elias didn't speak. They moved quickly, packing what little they had. Elias grabbed his rifle. Zyla wrapped her cloak tighter. She turned to him. "They don't take prisoners." "I know," he replied. She stepped forward. "If they take you, they'll torture you. Not if we run fast enough." But there was no running. The ships landed nearby. Heavy boots thundered across the wasteland. Voices shouted. Guns cocked. Elias turned to her and said, "If I don't make it." "No," she interrupted. "If anyone doesn't make it, it will be them." She stepped past him. The vampire queen was back, not with an army, not with a throne, but with fire in her eyes, and a reason to fight. She didn't care about survival anymore. She cared about him, and she would burn the world before letting anyone harm the only soul who saw her as more than a monster. The mercenaries were not quiet. They marched like they owned the ruins, their boots crushing bones and armor pieces with every step. Their ship, a black scarred gun cruiser, still hissed with heat from re-entry. Symbols painted in blood marked their allegiance. They didn't serve a flag. They served coin. Zerla stood at the edge of the shattered dropship, cloaked in shadow. Her skin shimmered pale silver in the firelight. Her lips were bloodless, and her eyes glowed faint violet. No longer weak, no longer hiding, Elias crouched behind her, rifle raised. He knew they were outnumbered. At least 20 raiders, armed, armored, trained. But he also knew something else. Zila wasn't afraid. She moved like the night itself, silent, deadly. "Cold, they're circling," Elias whispered. "I know," she replied. "Let them." A voice echoed through the ruins, mechanical, loud. "We detected survivors. Step out. No need to die dirty." Zerla's fingers tightened on the broken hilt of a ceremonial dagger she had found near Vila's body. Not her best weapon, but enough. Elias looked at her. "What do we do?" She turned her head slightly. "We kill them." "Good plan," he muttered. "Anything more specific?" "You distract, I finish." He chuckled once, shaking his head. "I hope your gods like humans. They owe you already," she said softly. Then, without another word, she leapt. Her movement was so fast it left a shadow behind. In a blink, she was among them, silent fury wrapped in cold elegance. Her dagger sliced through the air, through necks, through armor. She didn't scream. She didn't laugh. She just moved like a storm with teeth. The mercenaries fired, panicked. Elias opened fire from above. 3 fell before they even turned to aim. He moved with experience, breathing slow, pulling each shot with purpose. But even he paused to watch her. Zerla wasn't just fighting, she was dancing. Deadly waltz of blades and blood. One of the raiders activated a plasma torch and charged her, but she spun low, swept his legs, and drove her dagger into his chest. Without blinking, a shot rang too close to Elias. A raider had flanked him. The human dove behind cover, returning fire with a burst. The enemy fell, but Elias felt a burn in his side. He was hit. He slid down behind a broken wall, teeth clenched. Hand on his wound. It wasn't deep, but it was bleeding fast. "Zyrla!" He called out. She turned sharply, saw him. Saw the blood, and something inside her snapped. She moved faster now, brutal, less graceful, more primal. The last raiders screamed in their comes, begging for EVAC. It never came. 10 minutes later, the battlefield was silent again. Smoke rose. Bodies cooled. Zerla stood above the last mercenary, his body broken. Her hands were shaking, not from weakness but fury. She turned and ran back. Toward Elias. He was still conscious, holding pressure on his side. "Let me see," she said, kneeling beside him. "It's not bad." He winced. "You bled for me again," she whispered, voice tight. "I thought we agreed no keeping score." She pulled his hand away gently. Her fingers hovered above his wound. "I can stop it." "How?" he asked. "My blood, it heals, if you let me share it." He looked at her, sweat on his brow, pain in his voice. But his eyes stayed steady. "I trust you," he said. She bit her wrist. Just a scratch. A few drops fell onto his wound. It sizzled, slightly strange, warm, alive. And then the pain faded. Elias exhaled. "That's a neat trick." "It's not a trick," she said quietly. "It's a bond, a bond." When a vampire queen shares blood like this, it means she has chosen her protector. He stared at her. And what if I didn't want to be chosen? She leaned in closer. Then you should have left me to die. He didn't respond. But he didn't look away. That night, they didn't speak much, but they sat side by the fire, closer than ever. Zyla watched him sleep, eyes half-lidded. She didn't understand what was happening to her. She had never shared blood with a non-vampire, never protected one. Never cared. But now, even the thought of losing him made something ancient inside her tremble. The war was still out there. But for now, in this tiny broken corner of the galaxy, the Queen and her human had survived. Together. Morning light spilled over the battlefield, casting long shadows across the wreckage. The sky was still hazy with smoke, but the air was quiet, too quiet. Zyla stepped outside alone, her bare feet silent on the cold metal. Her cloak flowed behind her like dark mist, and her eyes scanned the horizon. The mercenaries were gone, but something inside her warned this peace wouldn't last. She returned to the dropship, where Elias was still resting, his side bandaged tightly. He stirred when he felt her presence. "You didn't sleep," he said, voice low. "Didn't need to," she replied softly. "Right, vampire queen." But his smile didn't reach his eyes. He was still pale, still weak. Her blood had helped, but it had also connected them in ways she hadn't yet explained. Elias sat up slowly. "What happens now? We move," she said. "This place isn't safe. Too many signals, too many deaths. Others will come. Others? Hunters, even my own kind. They'll sense I'm alive, and they'll try to finish the job." She nodded once. Elias sighed, stretching. "Well, guess we'd better get going then." She watched him. Despite his wounds, he didn't complain. Despite knowing the risk, he chose to stay with her, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. They packed what little they had, rations, weapons, gear, and headed out before the second sun rose. The land was jagged and dry, dotted with the skeletons of old machines and twisted trees turned to stone from plasma storms. It was quiet, but the silence felt wrong. As they moved, Elias noticed something strange. Zyla was walking slower than usual. Her shoulders were tense. Her glow, once bright, had dimmed slightly. "You all right?" he asked. She hesitated. "I feel watched." Elias turned, scanning the rocks around them. "Could be drones, scouts." "No," she whispered. "It's something older." They kept moving, faster now. By midday, they reached the edge of a canyon. A black river flowed below, thick and still. Elias knelt, checking his scanner. No signal. "That's strange." "It's being jammed," she said. "We're not alone." Suddenly, a sharp pulse echoed through the air, low, pulsing like a heartbeat. Zyla froze. "I know that sound," she whispered. "It's a call." "A what?" "A vampire signal. One only nobles can hear. Who's sending it?" "I don't know. But they want me to answer." Elias looked around, his jaw tight. "Feels like a trap." "It is," she agreed. "But I can't ignore it." "Why?" "Because it's coming from one of my sisters." Elias stared at her. "I thought they were dead." "So did I." She walked forward, slowly, toward the river. The signal grew louder, stronger, like a memory pulling her in. Elias followed. Close, rifle in hand. Then the ground shook. Something rose from the black water, tall, armored, and sharp like a walking blade. Its face was covered in bone-plated steel, and dark energy pulsed through its arms. Behind it, more shapes emerged, vampires. Twisted and changed. Zyla gasped. "No, that's not my sister. That's what's left of her." The figure stepped forward. Its voice was layered and hollow. "Zyla. Traitor queen." She narrowed her eyes. "You were destroyed at Velos Ridge. I was reborn in the abyss. as you shall be. Elias raised his rifle. You know this guy? Once, his name was Therax. Now he's something else. The creature tilted its head. Come home, Queen. Bow before the new blood, or burn with the human. Zirla stepped in front of Elias. He's under my protection. Then you die with him. Blades rose. Shadows. Screamed. Elias fired first. Zirla moved like lightning. The canyon exploded into chaos. She didn't hold back this time. Her eyes turned pure violet, and energy surged through her limbs. She struck like a storm. Elias kept shooting, guarding her back, calling out threats as they circled, but they were outnumbered, and these creatures didn't bleed like before. One grabbed Elias and threw him against a rock. His head cracked against it, and he fell dazed. Zyla screamed a sound so sharp the stones trembled. She launched forward, clawed hands ripping through armor and bone. She didn't care if she burned. She didn't care if she broke. All she cared about was him. The last creature hissed before falling into the river, its body smoking. Breathing hard, she crawled to Elias's side. His eyes were half open. Blood at his temple. No, no, no. She whispered, holding him close. He blinked slowly. Still here. She laughed through a tear. Don't do that again. Wasn't planning to. She held him tighter. For the first time, she feared something worse than death. Losing him. They found shelter in a cave high above the Black River. The entrance was hidden behind thick stone vines, and the path up was steep. Elias limped with one arm around Zerila's shoulder, and she helped him without saying a word. She didn't care that she was a queen or that he was human. Right now, they were only two survivors trying to breathe. Inside, the cave was cold and dry, with glowing moss casting a soft green light on the walls. She built a fire quickly. Not for herself, she didn't need the warmth. But he did. Elias sat against the wall, wincing. The hit to his head had made him dizzy, and the side of his ribs was badly bruised. She knelt beside him. Let me check your head. He nodded, eyes half shut. Her fingers moved carefully, brushing aside his messy hair. She could feel the swelling. Her heart tightened. She had killed thousands, but now the thought of this one man dying made her feel weak. You were willing to die for me, she said softly. I thought we already covered that, he joked weakly. She didn't smile this time. Why? He looked at her with tired eyes. Because you're not what they say you are. What do they say? That you're cruel, cold, a monster. Aren't I? He shook his head. You cry for the dead. You fight for someone else's life. You protect. That's not a monster. She looked down. I wasn't always like this. War made me less. You still have more left, he said. She touched his cheek. You gave it back to me. They sat in silence. The fire crackled. The green moss flickered around them like stars. Then her eyes turned sharp. We can't stay here, she said. You're right, Elias agreed. They'll be back. She stood. What we saw down there, that wasn't just a broken soldier. That was a creature infected with something older, darker. Like a virus? He asked. No, she said slowly. Worse, it's called the rot. Elias frowned. Never heard of it. You wouldn't. It's buried deep in vampire history. The rot is a curse. It consumes power. It offers strength, but devours the soul. My people sealed it away centuries ago. But it's back, and it's taking over your kind? She nodded. Yes, my sister, she's gone. Whatever rose from. That river was just wearing her skin. Elias pushed himself upright. So they're trying to convert you too? Yes, I'm the last of the royal line. If they corrupt me, the rest will follow. And what happens if you don't let them? They'll send everything they have to stop me. Elias breathed out slowly. Then we've got work to do. Zyrla stared at him. You don't have to keep following me, Elias. He gave her a tired smile. Too late. I already bled for you twice, I'm in deep now. She lowered her eyes, then moved close. What are you doing? He asked as she leaned in. I'm making sure you survive, she whispered. She bit her wrist again and offered it to him. He paused, eyes widening. We already did this. This time is different, she said. If you drink from me now, you won't just heal. You'll become something stronger, faster, connected to me. He hesitated. What would that make me? My knight. Elias raised an eyebrow. That sounds intense. It is. They looked at each other. Then he took her wrist and drank just a few drops. But it was enough. His body jolted. His senses sharpened. He gasped, every nerve in his skin alive. When it stopped, he leaned back, panting. That felt insane. You'll get used to it, he grinned. So, do I get a sword? She smiled faintly. You get me. Outside, the wind howled. Far below, deep in the shadows of the valley, something growled in the dark low, and ancient. The rot was hunting. It had smelled her blood again. It had seen her strength. And now it wanted both her and the human by her side. But this time, they were ready. Elias moved like he never had before. He could hear farther. See in the dark. His wounds were healing faster than human science could explain. It was her blood. It had changed him. Not fully vampire, not fully human. Something in between. She watched him carefully, not just to see how he moved, but to see who he was becoming. You don't feel different? She asked as he checked his rifle near the cave entrance. I feel sharp, like my body finally caught up to my instincts. Your soul is still your own? He looked at her. You sound worried. I am, she admitted. The blood link is strong. If your will is weak, the bond can control you. Elias gave a soft smirk. Then it's a good thing I'm stubborn. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing gently in the shadows. This bond, it's sacred in my culture, when it's shared. It means I've chosen you not just as protector, but as part of me. He stopped, eyes meeting hers. And are you ready for that? I wouldn't have offered if I wasn't. For a moment, everything fell silent. The cold, the fire, the war, they all faded. It was just them. A queen who thought she'd never love. And a human who never expected to be needed. But their quiet moment didn't last. A sharp humming sound echoed across the cliffs. Drones. Elias grabbed his rifle. They're scanning. Zila narrowed her eyes. They're tracing my blood signature. They found us? No, they found me. She stepped out of the cave and raised her hand. One of the drones hovered close. A soft pulse of black energy shimmered across its surface. The rot's presence is in them, she said. Elias raised his weapon. No, she said quickly. They're here to deliver a message. The drone opened, projecting a flickering image. A figure appeared in the light. Half flesh, half metal. A face twisted by corruption and glowing red veins. It was Therax, the rot-infested vampire who once served her house. Zyla, the creature rasped. Your blood calls to us. You cannot hide, you cannot win. You were born to rule. But now you must surrender. She stood tall. I will never bow to a disease. Therax's image flickered. Then the human dies screaming. And you will kneel anyway. The projection faded. Elias lowered his weapon. That guy's got issues. But Zila didn't laugh. She stared at the broken sky with growing fear. They've called the rot priests, she whispered. More of those bone-faced freaks? No, worse. These ones don't fight like soldiers. They attack your mind, your heart. They feed on guilt, regret. Elias looked at her. And what are they after? My past, my sins. She turned away. He followed her back inside. You don't have to face them alone. I do, she said. They won't come for you. Too bad. I'll be standing right next to you anyway. She stopped. If they get into your head, I've already been through hell, Elias interrupted. If they want my mind, they'll find nothing. Left to break, she turned, her eyes softening. You're not just my knight, Elias. You're more. He stepped forward. Then let me fight like I am. She looked at him, searching for hesitation. There was none. That night, they prepared. Zirla carved blood runes into her skin, old magic, lost to most of her kind. Elias set traps outside the cave, using old explosives and sharp metal from fallen drones. They trained side by side. He moved, like he had been born in war. She moved like she had never forgotten it. By midnight, the wind howled louder. They knew what was coming, and they didn't run. As the sky turned red again, and shadows gathered on the ridges above, Zirla whispered, something only Elias heard, if we die. Know this, you made me want to live again. Elias loaded his rifle. Then let's make sure we don't die. From the cliffs above, figures began to descend. Their eyes glowed like embers. Their chants echoed through stone. The rot priests had come, and the final battle was near. The sky cracked like broken glass. Red lightning flashed above the canyon as the rot priests floated down from the cliff stall, thin and robed in dark skin that shifted like smoke. Their faces were hidden behind silver masks carved with ancient vampire script. Their feet never touched the ground. They moved on air, whispering words that made the stones tremble. Elias stood beside Zila, rifle in hand, heart steady. She looked stronger than ever. Her body shimmered with the power of old blood, and her eyes glowed a fierce violet. The runes carved into her arms burned with light. Her cloak twisted like living shadow, but inside, she was afraid not of the priests, but of losing him. The rot priests stopped just meters away. The lead one raised its hand. Its voice was cold and quiet, but it struck like a hammer. Zila, of the Karis bloodline, surrender your soul. End your suffering. I have no suffering, she replied. Not anymore. You carry guilt, the voice whispered. You bathed in blood. You destroyed colonies. You killed the innocent. Elias stepped forward. She also saved one human's life. Mine. The priest turned to him slowly. You are nothing. Elias smirked. Funny, that's not what she said last night. The rot priest screamed. Suddenly, the canyon exploded with sound and fury. The wind howled. Rocks split apart. The priests flew forward with claws stretched and red fire burning from their hands. Elias fired. Zirla leapt. They fought as one. Elias rolled under a blast, shooting at the mask of the first priest. It cracked. The thing screeched and vanished. In smoke, Zirla tore into the second, her claws slicing through its chest. But the third priest hit her with a dark pulse that threw her against the wall. She gasped, bones cracking. Zila! Elias shouted. He ran to her, but the priest blocked his path. It reached into his mind. He felt it, like cold knives crawling into his memories. But something pushed back. Her blood. The link. He screamed, not in pain but in rage. He grabbed a shard of metal and charged, slamming it into the priest's mask. The creature shrieked and burst into ash. He dropped to his knees beside her. You okay? She coughed. I think I broke a rib. You're lucky I've got strong arms, he said, helping her up. Together, they turned toward the last priest. It floated higher, drawing energy from the air, forming a storm above. It shouted in a voice that split the air. You will fall. No. Zayla said, standing straight. I will rise. She reached into her chest, pulled out a crystal, her royal heartstone. It glowed blue, humming with ancient power. Elias stared. Is that what I think it is? It's my soul, she whispered. It was always meant to awaken at the end. She crushed it in her hand. Light exploded across the canyon. The rot screamed. And in one final surge of fire and energy, Zirla burned the last priest into nothingness. Then silence. Dust fell like snow. The wind faded. The red sky turned soft orange. As dawn broke, they stood in the rubble, barely breathing. "It's over," Elias whispered. She nodded, but her body trembled. The power that saved them was draining her. He caught her as she fell. "No, don't," he said. "Stay with me. I'm tired," she whispered. "The bond. It saved us, but—" "No," he said again, holding her tightly. "I didn't come all this way to lose you now." She touched his face, smiling weakly. "Then take my place." "What?" She pulled his hand to her chest. "I gave you part of me. Now, take the rest." Her blood flared inside him, hot, wild, alive, and then it settled. Her glow faded, but her body remained warm. He looked at her and realized she wasn't gone. She was inside him. The bond was complete, half human, half vampire, and something more. Elias stood up slowly, holding her body close, but her voice was still in his head. "Live, lead, love, for both of us." He looked at the sky and walked into the light, not as a soldier, not as a survivor, but as the last protector of a queen who found hope in a human's arms and gave everything to save him.